Ave Maris Stella.
Hello and welcome back to Vatican II in a Year. This is your host, Father Matthew Schneider. I am a priest of the Legionaries of Christ, and I am a theology professor. This is a podcast of the StarQuest Production Network at sqpn.com. Today we're on day 233 and we're covering Dignitatis Humanae 6 on government should allow and foster religion. If you want to follow along, we have a reading plan and more details at sqpn.com/Vatican or frmatthewlc.com/Vatican. Yesterday we spoke about how religious liberty includes families and larger religious organizations and groups, and they all should be free to teach and meet as they see fit. Now today we're going to talk about government needing to protect rights and avoid any discrimination and even promote religion in general and rules about promoting specific religion. So anyways, at least a brief rule. Anyway, so paragraph 6, which is our paragraph for today, it has 6 subparagraphs, and we're going to read them in groups of 2. So A and B is about the government needs to protect rights. C and D is about the government should foster religion in general and allow all, even if one prioritized, because it's like the majority religion or something like that. And then E and F, no religious discrimination in the law or for conversion. So let's start right away with A and B. A. Since the common welfare of society consists in the entirety of those conditions of social life under which men enjoy the possibility of achieving their own perfection in a certain fullness of measure and also some relative ease, it chiefly consists in the protection of the rights and in the performance of the duties of the human person. Therefore, the care of the right of religious freedom devolves upon the whole citizenry, upon social groups, upon government, upon the church, and upon other religious communities, in virtue of the duty of all towards the common welfare and the manner proper to each. B. The protection and promotion of the inviolable rights of man ranks among the essential duties of government. Therefore, government is to assume and safeguard the rights of religious freedom of all its citizens in an effective manner by just laws and by other appropriate means. So we have to remember this idea that the government's first responsibility is for the common good or common welfare, and much that is providing the conditions for others to achieve their goals. It's in the common good that my sister married her husband and things like that, and they live peacefully with their kids and things. And the government can't institute that, but they can provide means to protect their marriage through legal means, to give them a child tax credit so that my sister can stay home with her kids, things like that, right? And those things are providing the conditions for others to do it. And likewise, they provide the conditions for religion. They provide that freedom so that people can seek the truth, can do that thing for those types of things. And it's important here that we need rights to achieve these goals. We need rights to look for these goals. And rights have corresponding duties. There's no right without a duty for another. If I have a right to freedom of speech, the government has a duty not to impede my freedom of speech. Now, obviously, it mentions also other institutions, groups, churches, religious, etc. But first of all, this is going to fall on the government in making sure that rights are protected. Other groups need to protect the rights as well. A religion is one unalienable right. It's a right that's intrinsic, that's not given by the government, but given by God. It is a right that we have innately, and the government simply needs to recognize it. They are not there to give it to us, so they can't take it away either. And so it's important that the idea that they safeguard religious freedom. And it's particularly important for the government because those other organizations can, have a limited power in a state, and the government needs to be limited in that manner that they can promote religious liberty. So C and D talk about the government fostering religion in general, and D talks about the case where a single religion is prioritized. Let's read it. 6C. Government is also to help create conditions favorable to the fostering of religious life in order that the people may be truly enabled to exercise their religious rights and to fulfill their religious duties. And also in order that society itself may profit by the moral qualities of justice and peace which have their origin in men's faithfulness to God and to his holy will. D. If in view of particular circumstances obtaining among peoples, special civil recognition is given to one religious community in the constitutional order of society, it is at the same time imperative that the right of all citizens and religious communities to religious freedom should be recognized and made effective in practice. So just doing this in reverse order, D is talking about a case you would have to have a majority religion for this to be a just thing to do. But for example, Ireland talks about the Catholic faith and the Holy Trinity and things like that. in their constitution, and the Catholic Church was given a certain greater recognition in civil society. But at that time, Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, was like 90% plus Catholic. So it made sense. Just like it's not actually problematic in itself that a Muslim country that's 95% Muslim says we are a Muslim country, and the Islam, in a sense, might get certain things like, for example, leading prayers to open the parliament or something like that are always the Islamic prayers, and maybe occasionally other prayers, but things like that, right? And that's not necessarily problematic. But they need to still respect the rights of other religions and not put them as second-class citizens where they have extra tax or where they're discriminated against religiously, or they can't testify in court or things like that. Or if they convert from the religion of the majority to a minority religion, they can suffer serious financial or even physical danger. So this is important, but the 6C is talking about fostering religion in general. So what are things that would be like this? I think in the U.S. they do a pretty good job of this. They're not perfect, but for example, there's the opportunity for criminals and for people in the military and for people in government to have access to chaplains, especially if they're away from home. A workplace of the government doesn't really need to provide chaplains in a major city of the U.S. or something like that, because there's plenty of churches around for all the different ones, and even synagogues and mosques and things like that. They obviously need to provide the means for people to take the time off to go to their services, but they don't need to provide them there. But when you have a military base, that military base is kind of self-contained. A prison is very self-contained, and so making sure that the prisoners or the soldiers have access is important. And they need to provide opportunities for religious-based charities. Can all the religions in society do charitable work? Or is it just the major religion or just no religion? Is there time off for religious holidays? One of the things that I thought was quite impressive at the hotel I was staying with in the Holy Land was basically they had a portion of their staff who was Jewish, who was Muslim, and who was Christian. And they knew your religion, but it was basically just so that they would make sure that none of the Muslim staff had to work on Friday, none of the Jewish staff had to work on Saturday, and none of the Christian staff had to work on Sunday. And so if you were of the other two religions, you usually had to work those other 2 days, but you always had your religion's more holy day of the week off. And that seems like a reasonable way to make sure that they're allowing that and allowing people to practice their religion. I don't think this is a big issue in our society. People can practice their religion, but they can practice it in public. They can do public parades, or processions would be a better word. Parades are more like non-religious. But we do a procession with an icon or something like that. And that's a good thing. Now, moving on to our last set of paragraphs today, E and F, is about no religious discrimination in the law or for conversion. There is a lot of this. We mentioned Islam before, and there are a lot of Muslim countries where Christians and non-Muslims have to pay extra taxes, where conversion from Islam to Christianity can be the death penalty, either officially in the law or in practice, because they don't persecute. Certain Muslims have that attitude, and they'll never be prosecuted for that. And you have a similar thing for people converting away from Hinduism in parts of India as well. There is the Hindu nationalists who really want to enforce laws against converting from Hinduism to Christianity or Islam or other religions. And that's not good. But let's read the text and then do a little bit more analysis. I was just providing the examples first. E. Finally, government is to see to it that the equality of citizens before the law, which is itself an element of the common good, is never violated, whether openly or covertly, for religious reasons. Nor is there to be discrimination among citizens. It follows that a wrong is done in government when government imposes upon its people by force or fear or other means the profession or repudiation of any religion, or when it hinders men from joining or leaving a religious community. All the more is it a violation of the will of God and of the sacred rights of the person, the family of nations, that when force is brought up to bear in any way in order to destroy or repress religion, either in the whole of mankind, or a particular country, or an indefinite community. So this is pretty straightforward. I just gave those examples beforehand. All citizens are equal, independent of religion. We don't have discrimination. When people have the ability to convert or to profess whatever religion they want, so long as they're not doing something like human sacrifice or things like that. And so that is a very strong voice from the Vatican Council, from the Vatican in general, that really is strong, especially in those certain Muslim countries and certain parts of India where they have those kind of anti-conversion laws or that second-class citizen for certain religions. So thank you for listening to this episode of Vatican II in a Year. This is a listener's supported podcast. You can donate to help StarCross to produce it and other great podcasts at sqpn.com/give. You can give one-time, monthly, or join the StarCross Patreon. Tomorrow we're going to continue with paragraphs 7 of 8 of Drinking Captain's Humanity. The next paragraphs on religious liberty can't have limits. Please share a send to learn more about Vatican II, which provide a blueprint for the Catholic Church. Go to sqpn.com/Vatican, frmatthewlc.com/Vatican, or Vatican SQPN on Facebook and X for more information on the podcast, such as playlists for individual documents and a reading plan.
Amen.